Hey there, everyone. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's having a great Friday so far and have had a great week and are ready to roll into the weekend. Um, I know I am. I just got back from vacation last week. It was great. Went to Central California for some national parks. Got to see some giant sequoia trees and Yosemite, which was equally incredible. So it was awesome. But we're back. I'm back for Workout Wednesday. Workout Wednesday 2023. We're going to be looking at week 32. And looks like it's going to be a really fun challenge. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. What do you say? All right. So first off, before I start, I have to shameless. Not even a it's not a promotion, certainly not sponsored, but I got a new I tried out a new browser called Arc. If you've never heard of it, it is basically it's Chrome on underneath under the hood. It just has a really unique and interesting wrapper around it. Quick shout out to Tableau Tim for showing me this on LinkedIn, but it's incredible. So yeah, it's called Arc, and it allows you to do a lot of really cool things like split view. So this is one window, and you can open multiple tabs within the same window. So I've got the Workout Wednesday blog here, and then I've also got the what we're going to be building right here next to it. So I don't have to swap between I don't have to swap between tabs. So which is pretty great. So anyway, enough of that. On with the challenge. So what we're going to be doing is, can you show all values when filtering? So this is from Venkatesh, who works at PH Data, and we're basically going to build this, which shows the sales trend or profit depending on what you choose, which is fine. And then whenever you select a customer name here, you can see we get their sales, but you can see the trick to this is that it doesn't go away whenever you the null values stay, right? So we'll talk about why that's an issue, or why that happens, why this is such a challenge, because generally, without doing some hacks or understanding how Tableau is working, when I select a customer who has no value, then the null values just disappear, right? So we've got to do some fixing to get those null values to show. So that's what we're going to do today. And then you can see here, whenever I select on profit, it changes the measure to profit and does the exact same thing. So that's what we're going to do today. Yeah, so let's get started. All right, so I've got Superstore pulled up here, and we need to bring out. I'll do a custom date, and it will be month, and it'll be quarters. It'll be the date value. Nope, it'll be the date part. Trying to think about this. Date part onto columns. But we need, actually, let's edit this, and it's actually going to be the date value. So it's going to be everything, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to go here, and we're going to default properties, and we're going to change the date format here, which is Q1, and then the apostrophe, and then the year. So we'll do Q. Let's see what that does. Q. Okay, so that's. Yeah, let's just do it this way so it updates automatically here. Dates, custom, Q, Q, Q. There we go. 3 Q's to get that. Q, Q, Q. And then the apostrophe and the year, the 2-digit year, just like that. So that's how we're going to get the custom formatting for the for that, which is good. Next, we'll create a. First, what we'll do is we'll create a new. I'll call this the trend. I'll create a new sheet. I'll create a parameter. Call this measure. I'll call this p measure, so I know it's a parameter. It's going to be a. It doesn't matter. It's float. Or no, it does need to be a string, and it's going to be sales. Create a new calculated field to bring that parameter value into our data source. We'll call this dynamic measure, and we'll do case. Or, you know what, let's switch it up. Let's do IIF. If that equals sales, then return sales. Else, profit. So you can see here, bump that up a little bit. We're doing the IIF, which is kind of, if you're very familiar with Excel, this is the Excel format, right? Like the Microsoft Excel if formula syntax. So that's what we're going to do. If our measure equals sales, return sales, else profit. So then on this sheet, I'm going to call it customer name. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do measure names. On filters, I want sales and profit. I will bring measure names to columns, customer name to rows. I will do measure values on columns. Switch those around. And sort this descending by sales. There we go. Add our values. This will be, I need to change the default format here to currency, no decimal places. And I need to do that here as well. Number format, currency, no decimal place. There we go. Okay. Looks like we're giving a little bit more space, which is nice. So there we go. We'll kind of bump the size there. I'm going to put measure names on color, and I'll do the sales here and profit there. Click apply. There we go. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's see here. Looks like, so instead of doing measure names and measure values here, he did the actual sales. He did a little bit differently. So, let's do that real quick. Let's remove measure names. Let's keep that. Let's remove this. Now let's take sales and profit, and then we'll remove that. There we go. So that allows us to get our value or our label, axis label here. So as you saw before, whenever I did measure names and measure values, the axis title was just called value, and you only get to name it once because I'm using it on both axes here. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you want your axes to, if you want your axis labels to be separately, to be labeled separate, you cannot use measure names and measure values. So you'll have to figure out a different way to do that. But either way, it all works. Okay. Let's see. What are we going to do now? Let's do this, and let's go ahead and add an action here. And it'll be a change parameter value on and it'll be dynamic measure, and it'll be customer name. It'll be on the entire data source on customer name. The target parameter is p measure, and we're going to be using measure names and measure values. And we'll keep the current value, and we'll do it on select. Click OK. Click OK. Now we can go here and we can add our dynamic measure to rows. It's going to give us a line chart by default, but we'll change that to bars. We will add our mark labels, and we will do what? We need to measure. Nope, not that. We need to do, for the dynamic color, we need to create a new calculated field called bar color. And this one is going to be very, very similar to what we had before. So p measure equals sales, then blue, else green. Click OK. And now we just need to say this is the blue color. Click OK. Come here, click on green. Go to trend. You can see that's now green because I used my parameter action. So now I'll go to color, edit colors, do the green color now, click apply, click OK. Now whenever I select the measure, it goes back to blue, right? So I got that working now. Now what we need to do is we need to do some filtering, right? So we need to figure out how to make this work, right? So let's talk about that. So what I can do is, to make this work, click parameter, create parameter, and we'll call this p customer, and it'll be a string. And it'll be all. Click OK. Create a new calculated field. We'll call this customer filter. And it'll be, customer filter will be the if, no, it's not going to be an if. It's going to be p customer equals all, or p customer equals customer name. Add that to over here. Customer filter, it's going to be true always. And then what we'll do is we'll say customer name. We're going to add a new worksheet action on, it's going to be another here, change parameter on my data source. On my customer name is going to be p customer, customer name, aggregation none. When clearing the selection, set the value to all. So now when I select Sean Miller, who's that guy? we'll go over here and you can see, okay, here it is. What's happening? Right? You can see that it is working. It's working the way that you want it to because it's filtering these down. But if we go back and we look at our example of what we're trying to build, if I click on Sean Miller here, I want to see all of the empty quarters, right? So how do we do that? Well, let's try a few things. Let's go up to Worksheet. Is it Worksheet? I think it's Analysis. Special Values, Table Layout, Show Empty Columns. So if we do that, what happens? We get a row we get something that doesn't make a lot of sense here, right? Because we get okay. So the way that we have to do this, right? So you can see here we have what it's doing is this is now when I selected, you can see what happened if we go back. So right now we have order date at quarters, and if we look at it, it's order date of quarters, right? But if I choose table layout, show empty columns, what happens is it now splits that out at the aggregation of the row level, right? So this is actually every day now, but it's still shown at the quarter level. So if I show all fields here, okay, there's nothing there, right? It doesn't show up. But if I go, because I'm asking it to show empty columns, so it's splitting everything out. And so that's not necessarily what we want to do, right? So let's go back. And what are we going to do now? We can try and do, let's see if we do this. Let's see what happens if we do ZN. If we wrap everything in a ZN, which means zero out the nulls, what happens? Nothing, right? Nothing happens because, again, you have not told Tableau what to do with it yet, right? So let's try, what if we ZN each of the things that we're returning? What happens there? Still nothing. Again, we haven't told Tableau still can't do anything with nulls. Nope, not that one. So, as you can see, this is a very common, like, this is not a ridiculous request, right? Like, you probably have dealt with something along these lines as well, where it's like, I want to see everything. I don't want everything to show. I want everything to kind of stay lined I want things to stay lined up so that I can see where everything is, right? So let's look back at this. So see if there's anything here. Okay. So you can see here that I have the ability to drill up or down, and I don't have that here. So maybe instead of doing a custom date, well, that's still not going to get me exactly where I want. Okay, so that gets me closer, right? I still now see a continuous discrete. Yep. So that gets me close because I now have a column here for everything, right? I'm now still showing, but I still don't see the zeros. So let's see what that, if I do, nope, nothing there. Let's try this. Nope, still nothing there, right? Because again, there's nothing in the data source here, right? So one of the things that I noticed from the intro here is how to replace blank or nulls here in Tableau. So this is a blog post that that Venkatesh has actually written. So let's see what he's got here. So let me bump this up a little bit, and then we'll see what it is. Okay, let's see, ends in 9, then null, right? So we've got null values here. So the fix is, yeah, some sales, few records, few missing records, issue fix, show empty columns. We've tried that, it's not working. Right? Even if I do this analysis, show empty columns, nothing changes, right? So that's not the fix. Lookup. All right, let's try that. Let's see what happens there. So if we do what did he see? Let's just do this. Z in and a lookup of, and this will just change this to my dynamic measure. Take that and let's put it up here and let's see what we get. Nope. We don't get that. Alright, are needed was, okay, so scenario 4, many missing records in the data or filtered data, and empty empty rows, columns are needed with zeros, right? So that's, so the fix here is create a set on create 2 sets, one for each of the 2 dynamic filters that you want. It does not matter if you choose date part or date value if the detail is in years. Then use that to, then use this to create the set. Okay, so let's do create. So we've got our order date here, right? So let's do create a set off of that, and then what? And then now you may be wondering if we have 2 sets for the filters that you want. Okay, so we have a, oh, okay, all right. So now, so we need, so the first thing we need to do is we need to create a customer name set. And okay, let's see here. And then we need, so we did this, create a set, use all, click OK. This to create the set. Now you may be wondering why you have 2 sets in the filters. This is because you need to show set And then we have this calculated field, which is if ship day equals same day and order date year set and segment set. Okay, so no, so this is a Boolean calculation times, so true is, oh, what? Whoa, that's wild. Okay. All right. So then we do, so this calculation 1 here is going to be int customer name set times dynamic measure. Hold on just a sec. All right, so I'm back. All right, so what do we do here? What are we doing here? We have, so we have if ship mode equals same day and the set, if you're in the set, okay, and then we build a calculation off of this to z in sum of that. Still don't have it, okay. You can replace the measure with the above calculation and that fixes that, okay. Okay, so let's see. But do I need, let's see here. Yeah, I've got that. So customer name. We have, let's see. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, I moved that. There we go. So we do this. See, and that's the other thing. These are discrete here. Because I still need that to be, I need these to be 0. I need the zeros still. Oh, let's see here. Okay, so let's see. We're trying to figure this out here. So, because this is the fix that we are wanting, right? We have many missing records in the filtered data, and we need empty rows or columns that are needed with zeros, right? So change. So he had this. Keeping 2021 and change the setting goes up to 90. Okay. So as your table layout, the number of rows changes dramatically when you play with the filters. Yep. This might not be acceptable. Yep, you're right. So what will you do if you want to give your end users freedom to go crazy with filters and preserve the layout and resulting? Yes, that's what I want. This is what I want. You must determine which filters can be hard-coded and which need to be dynamic. Assume that ship mode equals same day is hard-coded. Imagine you're building a cross-step for same-day shipping, and you also want users to do the shipment. Okay. Create two sets. One for each of the two dynamic filters that you want. All right. So what are the two? What's the dynamic filter that I want? I want that to be my dynamic filter to be customer name. Okay. One for each. So we have segment. He said we're going to have segment and years. Okay. So he created the segment set. He created the year set. Or he created the custom date for years. But then he created the set off of that. Okay, so we've got two sets. So he's saying M2 sales is the ship mode equals same day and order date years and segment set. So the two sets, so this is all three of these are Boolean calculations. They will automatically, by default, they'll return either a 0 or a 1, where if all three logical evaluations are true, it returns 1, else 0, and then we're going to multiply that times we're going to multiply 0 or 1 by whatever the sales are, which is pretty genius, right? Like, we know that 0 times anything is 0 except for null, right? And 1 times the sales is the sales. So adding in a calculation returns true in the set. Thus M sales returns sales when the three conditions are set, and a 0 when they are not set. Yeah. Since the N2 has blank values, create a new calculated field by wrapping the NZ in on plec. Now, alternatively, you could replace the measure with the above calculation that shelved the previous fixes. Once the new measure is in the view, remove all three filters and show the set option and the show unless the measure is in view. Okay. So then we remove that. And let's see. Let's see. Okay, let's do. Okay, so instead of this, we'll do p customer name equals customer, or p customer equals all. There it is. Wow. That's pretty genius right there. Did you see how that happened? So I basically, so he did everything with sets, and I did everything with parameters. So I changed this int, this function here to be, instead of the customer name set, to do it with, I basically just used the customer filter. So actually I could just replace all this with customer filter. And that does the same thing, right? Times the dynamic measure. So now I just remove this, and now I remove that. That gets me all my values and the zeros. Go back here, remove that. So now my customer name parameter, my customer parameter should be all. I get all my values. I go over here, I select somebody else. I go over here, I get that. That is pretty awesome. So let's back it up. So we figured it out, right? We figured out with the solution, but now let's figure out why it works, right? Because if we don't learn that, then we haven't really learned. All we've learned how to do is just copy a blog post. My goal, this is why reading blog posts and this is why I do these live streams, because just showing you how to do something only gets you part of the way there. If I only keep showing you that, then you're gonna have to learn it. You're gonna have to just keep coming to me and watching these whenever you run into something. But if we learn why it works, you can then apply that for future issues, right? So let's talk about this. So what I did is I have a customer selected. That customer name that I've selected is being inserted into this p customer name. It's being inserted into this p customer parameter. Then the very first thing, first I have this customer filter where it just evaluates that, right? It evaluates the p customer parameter, and does it equal all, or does it equal an actual customer's name, right? That is what we use to filter down to everything that we need, right? That calculation is then used in a new calculation to return that Boolean as a integer, a 1 or a 0, right? Whenever it's true, it's a 1. When it's false, it's a 0. And then we multiply that integer by our dynamic measure, which is either going to be sales or profit, depending on what we've selected. Okay? Then that's not all. That's not what we do there, right? Then from there, what we need to do, because there still could be missing values, right? But because we multiplied the dynamic measure, which was either null or it had values, we multiplied that times 1 or 0, right? Which inserted a 0 into all of the places where it was null. That's how we end up with that. So now let's just make sure this is working, right? Let's do Ken Lonsdale, but on profit. Hopefully, if I've done everything right, I should have green quarterly bars, and I do. Right? And let's just make sure that that's working the way that we want. We will slide that all the way over. Let's just check to make sure Ken Lonsdale on profit. We see that negative. There it is. Just like that. So that was a really great challenge. I will be using this hack. I'll be using this a lot, because this is a very common, and usually what I've done in the past to do that is you pad your data, right? And that means that you bring in every possible quarter in your data, right? And you pad that because essentially what you're doing is you need to create dummy rows. So that is the hack that I've done in the past, is I create a data set with dummy rows, and then I do a cross join on that, so that you get everything, you get all of the values there, and then you can just do the ZN function and it works. The issue with that is that if you have a lot of data in your data source, right, that's going to just compound the total number of rows, and when you compound the number of rows, you get performance hits. You see a performance decrease in your dashboards. Nothing is good. This is actually, it's pretty performant. So this is pretty awesome. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. I love this. Pretty novel, and it makes sense whenever you kind of think about what's happening, right? So let's fix this. So let's change. We don't want to ever see. Well, hold on. Do I need calculation 2? I might not. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't think I did. So I don't even need that. And then we'll just do, this is the that's the dynamic measure. This is, we'll call this rename, we'll call this dynamic measure with zeros. And of course we don't necessarily want to see that. What we do want is we want to put in the parameter of p measure. So dynamic axis titles, new feature released recently. So there's that. We'll get rid of this. Now we can come here and format this guy to QQQ apostrophe year. We also need to do dynamic measure with zeros. We need to do a number format there. Do it on currency, no decimal places. There's that. Let's see, do we need anything else? Looks like we don't have any tooltips. Turn them all off. All right. Tooltip. Don't show tooltips. Tooltip, don't show tooltips. There we go. Okay. So there we go. Put that on a dashboard. What did we say? 1,000 by 8? Yep. Trusty 1,000 by 800 dashboard. We'll put our trend up top. Put our customer name down below. Get rid of this guy. Rotate. There it is. Do some formatting. Get it all looking nice. And everything works. Just like that. Cool. So hopefully, Jeff, that answered your question there. Appreciate you tuning in. And Tim, thanks again for tuning in. Appreciate it. And yeah, we'll do this again next week. Yeah, this was good. I enjoyed it. So thank you so much. Appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we are Data People. I am Sean Miller, Hipster Viz Ninja. Go forth and viz.